First it was clean beauty, and then it was quite luxury, and now we have clean luxury, which seems to be an amalgamation of both and just as ambiguous. Clean luxury definitely has the making of fashion propaganda to me, but I want to get into the backstory of the word and try to figure out whether it does have a deeper meaning that could actually be useful, or whether it is just an empty buzzword like green fashion was in the 2010s. You aren't going to find a definition of clean luxury on the internet because, you know, it's a made-up word. But Everlane, the brand that I think coined the term and certainly seems to be claiming that they have, define it as clothes that are better for you. But what does that mean? Made with premium fabrics, made to last, made to be worn over and over, made to be asked, who's that by? And the answer is Everlane. So pretty vague, but they do some introductory videos to this new campaign for them, since it is technically a campaign, although they are kind of rebranding themselves as clean luxury. So maybe that'll give us more insight.
Behind this model is a hill. This hill is an analogy. Is it a journey? A challenge? An office? Let's say it's our office. Every day we come to work. We research, we test, we design, we make clothes. But we're not making just any clothes. We're making better clothes. Better isn't a feeling or an intuition. It's just gotta be better for you. Yeah, that's it. Better for you. Forever.
Honestly, for a video explaining your new brand positioning and tagline to your customers, this is so vague. They're saying that it's not a feeling or intuition that they're selling, but this video is just purely vibes and an analogy of a hill. Like, there's no explanation, there's no like definition for the term, there's no like background about how they're providing a better product. It's just like, here's some models on a hill looking pretty. I guess sustainability is the hill, and they're treating it as like a challenge or a long journey that they have to like climb the hill for in order to reach the top, or like, you know, maybe there isn't a top, maybe it's just about sustainability as a journey rather than a destination, which is a pretty common marketing line that a lot of brands have been using. And I don't think it's a bad message to have, of saying that sustainability is not something that can just be done overnight. That's not what weirds me out about this entire thing. It's, for one thing, the fact that I've watched this apparent explainer video about what they're doing and I've come away learning like almost nothing. That's so different to say how Garni markets their sustainability and like is so transparent with their customers and really just thoughtful about packaging all of that sustainability messaging up and putting it into a very digestible format. Like this other example I found on their Instagram, which was their customer's guide to clean denim, which seemed to be, you know, a portal to explaining how they're being better with their denim production, maybe what factories they're working with and all of that kind of technical stuff. But instead it's just a shopping guide of the different styles of jeans they're selling. And that just feels really like, you know, trust us, we've got it covered. Just you shop and don't worry about any of the sustainability. Like, do you want to explain a little bit more about your process? You have to go to Everlane's website to like learn more about their sustainability practices, which, you know, I kind of get. Instagram is not really the one for digging deep into a topic so much, and a lot of consumers will just scroll past content that seems very word heavy. So I understand that maybe it's hard to market sustainability on there, but the problem with relying on people going to your website to actually learn what clean denim is to you and like how you're doing better is that I just feel like people won't do that. They won't go to the website. They'll just fall for the marketing campaign. And, you know, even when you do go to the website, the first thing I saw was a 50% off summer sale. So like, not that sustainable. And I mean, to be fair to the brand, I get what they're trying to do here. They're trying to create an emotional connection between the consumer and their products. Selling the clothes as better for you, but also conveniently better for the planet, is a marketing campaign that a lot of brands have been trialing lately because selling sustainability as the main focus has not been working well for brands. So, you know, putting the focus on clothes that benefit the consumer in some way and also, you know, as a cherry on top, are better for the planet is the strategy right now, I feel. So they're not the only brand doing this. They're certainly the only brand I've seen doing the clean luxury way, but we're going to break into that a little bit in a minute. The other thing I want to say about Everlane before we go any further is that they do seem to be doing quite a bit to try become sustainable. They appear to be making progress, and I know that they've been featured in like fashion magazines shopping guides as like the most sustainable brand, which, you know, I don't put too much stock in because fashion magazines are just as much part of the fashion cycle and want to sell you just as much for their affiliate links. But what I do put stock in is they actually came top of Remake's 2024 sustainability report, which is quite a big feat. Like, that's pretty good for them. The only thing I'll say is that they scored 40 out of 150 points, so still a lot of progress to go, but like in terms of the fashion industry average, they're doing pretty well. But it's this introduction of a new buzzword that really like puts me on edge. I get that marketing is so important when it comes to pushing sustainability, and that brands really struggle to sell unglamorous things like the fact they're reducing their carbon emissions as a key selling point for consumers. But creating this new tagline opens up so many avenues for ambiguity and corruption. And one of the things I also want to point out is the visuals they're using for this campaign are very psychologically driven, and I think it's in a slightly nefarious way, and that kind of feels a little bit icky to me. For example, the whole imagery around them using pipettes and test tubes and like science-y equipment for their fashion campaign is the same exact thing that happened at the start of the clean beauty movement. And we all know where that went. And if you don't, I did a video on it, so go watch that. But you know, didn't go well, basically TLDR. Clean luxury using the same visuals feels like a disaster waiting to happen. I think the root of the issue is when we allow brands to create buzzwords and to create the language we use to talk about things like sustainability, it will always fall back to them pushing new products, pushing consumption on consumers. And that will always be their motive, rather than creating terminology that actually allows consumers to understand the complexities of sustainability, which is exactly why we need more regulation from governments around greenwashing and more standardized terms for sustainability wording in fashion that's, you know, standardized across the board, rather than every brand cherry picking the term they want to use to convince consumers that they're better than everyone else. But, you know, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that this is an issue I bring up constantly and doesn't seem to be getting much progress. I mean, we don't even have a standardized term for sustainability in fashion. How crazy is that? My kind of conspiracy theory going on right now is that this entire clean buzzword kink under which clean luxury falls is a manifestation of consumers wanting to appear more calm and collected and convince themselves they're more calm and collected in a world that increasingly feels chaotic and like uncontrollable. And that's the reason why brands are jumping on these clean buzzwords and marketing their campaigns around these emotions we're feeling and kind of selling us a solution to them. It feels icky, it feels a little bit predatory. And I'm not calling out Everlane in particular for doing this, because God knows how many beauty brands have jumped on clean beauty, but I feel like they're verging on this territory of trying to sell us a solution to a lot of anxieties people are feeling as maybe they learn more about fashion sustainability and how ultra fast fashion is polluting the world. And kind of speaking of breaking into that whole psychology of cleanliness, scrolling through Everlane's Instagram, one thing I also noticed is how the brand is trying to tie itself into the wellness boom. And by kind of rooting themselves in this space, it kind of has the implication that you can shop wellness through shopping Everlane. Like, a shortcut to wellness is shopping from this brand. And as we know, social media loves a shortcut. There is definitely a link emerging in the wellness space that links fashion. And I've seen a few brands trying to position themselves in this gap in the market and market market their products using natural materials or natural dyeing as an escape from the toxicity of fast fashion and their synthetic fabrics and synthetic chemicals. It's a very interesting emerging space, I have to say, and I'm predicting that it's going to get only bigger as more and more people clue into ultra fast fashion's issues and more research comes out about the implications of synthetics on our health. And yeah, I think this is going to be a major trend in the coming years, so I'm going to keep my eye on this, and you should too. But yeah, I think this entire kind of marketing campaign of clean luxury, of wellness, of the whole nature aesthetic, of all of the marketing campaigns and the science aesthetic, it does kind of just feel there's no real move from the brand to educate consumers about what they're doing and why they're doing it and why it's important. And it just feels very like, trust me bro, clean luxury is the new thing, just buy. And I don't think that's the way to increase the sustainability movement. Maybe it's a good way to sell products and, you know, expensive products, which is another thing I want to talk about actually, is, you know, putting this potential greenwashing aside for a minute. I think it's interesting Everlane is now going down the branding route of luxury because their prices aren't what you'd actually typically consider from a luxury brand, more like mid-tier. And it definitely goes back to what I was saying in another video about the lines in the fashion industry blurring and what it means to be a luxury brand blurring. And I think it's interesting that Everlane is positioning themselves as luxury, not necessarily because of their pricing and the unattainableness of this and, you know, all of the things that luxury brands tend to justify their prices with, but they're positioning themselves as luxury because they're offering consumers a premium product in the fact that it's better for them. Like their marketing is almost health-based for their consumers, and also maybe feeling less guilty about their consumers' consumption, and that's what makes them a luxury brand. They can offer consumers that. I think that's really interesting, and I always like linking back to other topics I've talked about and seeing how brands are like evolving them. But yeah, to sum up, clean luxury does not feel like a term that has much meaning, at least a standardized meaning that you could explain to someone in 1 minute, that doesn't rely on vibes and green hills and pipettes, you know? There's just no substance to it, in my opinion. I'm not condemning Everlane. I do think that they are, as I said, trying to progress and that their sustainability practices are definitely not the worst in the fashion industry. They seem to be doing quite well, but I'm just not sure about this particular marketing campaign and how it comes across to consumers, or even the implications for the wider industry of being able to use this new marketing term and all of the connotations Everlane has built with it to market their products, which maybe aren't as good. I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts about what you think this clean luxury movement will bring. But yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you have a nice day. Bye.